Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. It's been a really great show so far. We've talked a little bit about the Apply Texas application and the UC application, and now we get to turn our attention over to college finance. We're going to talk a little bit about something called the Cal Grant. Now, this is a term that I've heard kicked around here and there, but I don't know that I'm fully familiar with the program. And so we've got one of our newer team members. We're really excited to have her as a part of College Coach, but also, of course, to have her on the radio show here today. We've got Marina Zaretsky. Hi, Marina. How are you today?
I am good. Hi, Ian, and thank you so much for having me.
I'm really delighted to have you here, and you're going to help school me a little bit on something that I know nothing about, which is often happens in our financial aid segments of the podcast. So let's just start. What is a Cal Grant? Why are we talking about it today?
Sure. So a Cal Grant is money for college that you do not have to pay back. It is administered by the state of California through the California Student Aid Commission. Now, in order to qualify, you do need to complete the FAFSA application, and that's the free application for federal student aid by the March 2nd deadline. That is a very important date to remember. And you
Okay.
need to meet the eligibility and financial requirements as well as any minimum GPA requirements.
So the March 2nd deadline, that's going to be March 2nd of the student's senior year?
It is going to be March 2nd for the senior year as well as subsequent years. So for the freshman year,
Ah,
going into college, that's easy to meet because our hope is, of course, that once the FAFSA does open on October 1, as they're applying to colleges, that they will hopefully be able to complete the FAFSA before November 15th. But for subsequent years, students do need to be mindful of the March 2nd deadline every single year.
that's a great reminder because I think that, sometimes students figure, okay, I've got this scholarship, I've done it, I'm going to college, and now I don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. But those
Exactly.
deadlines are recurring. And so we want to make sure that students are hitting that every single year. Now, you mentioned that there are eligibility requirements. There might be some financial requirements, GPA requirements. That's a lot. And of course, you said it's free money that you don't have to pay back. So I guess it makes sense that there would be some requirements that are tapped into that. What are some of the requirements that students need to fulfill in order to be eligible?
Sure. So again, the March 2nd FAFSA deadline is important. Then you do need to be a US citizen or eligible non-citizen. You need to be a California resident for 1 year. You do need to attend a qualifying California college, not already have a bachelor's degree, and you do need to demonstrate financial need. So you need to be a need-based student, and you need to have family income and assets below the minimum levels that will be established by the California Student Aid Commission. You need to be enrolled in a program leading to an undergraduate degree and enrolled at least half time. So that is important. In subsequent years, if you ever want to be enrolled less than half time, you do need to be mindful that you will lose the Cal Grant eligibility for that semester if you are enrolled less than 6 units.
Is there any kind of age requirements around the Cal Grant? Is that something that, we typically see that students are getting this out of high school early in their college
Right.
career, 18, 19, 20, et cetera. But are there non-traditional students who might also be eligible if they hit those other requirements?
Yes, so there's no age requirement. There's actually three types of Cal Grant. There's Cal Grant A, B, and C. So the C is for students who are pursuing a vocational program. So that's more
Okay.
for the non-traditional with no age requirement.
Gotcha. Okay, that's really interesting. So you mentioned a little bit about the deadlines, March 2nd, and that's something that for students who are going to be applying to college this year, that's easy enough to hit because
Yes.
they'll already have taken care of their FAFSA. But are there any other dates that students need to be aware of as a part of this? Is just that key March 2nd deadline, or is there something else to keep an eye out for?
So for most schools, it is just the March 2nd deadline. If you are attending a California community college and you miss the March 2nd deadline, they do have a second deadline of September 2nd. So you still have that one more chance to submit all of the documents.
Interesting. So that's for somebody who is enrolling in the community college for that particular fall. So the separate September 2nd
Exactly.
deadline would correspond to that enrollment.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, this sounds good conceptually. How much money are we talking here? Like what is the value of the Cal Grant for a student that ultimately qualifies for one and is selected for one?
This is where it varies. Again, I've mentioned that there's Cal Grant A, Cal Grant B, and Cal Grant C.
Yeah.
So Cal Grant A is limited to tuition. That is something to be mindful of. And that is where it depends what school you go to. If you go to a community college, the Cal Grant A is actually held in reserve for 2 years until you transfer to a 4-year college. Once you
Okay.
transfer to a 4-year college, if you go to California State University, Cal State, the amount is $5,742. If you go to a University of California system, the amount is $12,570. If you go to a private school, the amount is $9,220. If you go to a private nonprofit school, it's $9,220. And if you go to a private for-profit school, then it is $8,056.
Okay.
That is for Cal A. For Cal Grant B, across all of the schools, it is $1,856, and that portion can actually be used for living expenses. So you can kind of use it for other things other than tuition.
So when we think about these two grants, are they based in any way on merit, or are they exclusively tethered to need in terms of who qualifies for the A versus the B Cal grant amount?
A lot of it is need-based. Going into the Cal Grant system, for Cal Grant A, the high school GPA must be a 3.0 minimum. And for Cal Grant B, the GPA requirement does need to be a 2.0 minimum. But then at
Okay.
that point, once you've kind of qualified for Cal Grant as a whole, it kind of depends on your income. In order to qualify for a combination of Cal Grant A plus B at colleges, your income and asset ceilings will be a little bit more restrictive compared to just Cal Grant A.
Okay, I gotcha. Now, does that mean that you can qualify as an individual student for both A and B together, or do you get one or the other?
Yes, so the Cal Grant A is going to be a tuition piece, and Cal Grant B will be on top of the A as living expenses outside of tuition, as long as you meet the income and asset ceilings. So for example, for a household size of 2, to qualify for Cal Grant A, the income needs to be no higher than 104,900. And for Cal Grant B, the income limit is 49,000, and for Cal Grant A, 90,400. So the first number that I just mentioned, that's the assets. For Cal Grant A, the asset ceiling is 104,900, and for dependent students, it's 90,400.
So quite a bit higher in terms of the ceiling for Cal Grant A, which is the more
Yep.
generous of the two options. But of course, you're mentioning that those grants have to be tethered to certain kinds of expenses, and they can be
Yes.
combined as well.
Yes.
And the 3.0 threshold for Cal Grant A, I think when you think about some of the eligibility requirements for admission to the 4-year universities where Cal Grant A even is applicable, you have to have higher than a 3.0 to be eligible for the UC. And so it makes sense that it would map onto that. I don't see that as being a particular
And I'm sorry, Ian, I think I just lost you.
Oh, yeah, I paused it there. Let me count you back in here. All right. All right, here we go in 4, 3, 2. Nope, we do not have you. Ian, you're not hearing you. Nope, still nothing.
Can you hear me now?
Heard something there for a second.
Something went wrong with my headset. I got this other microphone though.
Okay, yeah, we'll just use, that's a better mic anyway. Let's go ahead and gonna count you right back in.
but this one doesn't sit on my head and cover my hair. Do you know where I was when I went out? I saw just a thing came up and I don't know.
Let me back it up real quick. We've got to get going on this because we're much over our time. Give us 1 second.
Yeah. Marina, this doesn't usually happen.
It's my first time. It's probably my
It's
fault.
not your fault.
And so it makes sense that it would map on that. I don't see that as being a particular.
So that was the last thing said, that particular.
Yeah. So if we can
CPA
edit
stuff.
right at map onto that.
We
and then
honestly
I can
don't have
start-
time to edit out right now. We're gonna have to pick it up right from there. I'm
No,
gonna
I
be
will. I
100%
will say
honest.
the next thing, but I can't. I guess I can try. Say
All right, I'm
one more
going to
time. What were
count you
those
guys
last
back
3
in,
words?
all right?
Yeah. Oh, and we're recording this whole thing. That's great. On Zoom. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3.
Particularly onerous requirement for students because they're going to have to satisfy those requirements to be eligible for admission to the UC and the CSU anyway. Now, these are obviously really great scholarships, but sounds like they're exclusive to people who live in California. And we like to think about, the other people in the other states as well. Are there other programs like this that people can research, investigate for their particular states of residency that might be applicable for their public and private institutions?
So yes, most states will have some type of state grant programs. I would suggest that listeners in other states check out the state's Department of Education website for details, and it will outline requirements and just all the different facts about it.
Now, I would imagine the Cal Grant kind of fits into an entire portfolio of financial aid. There might be some other sources as well. How should students think about a Cal Grant fitting into other aspects of financial aid, including scholarships, private and from the institutions themselves? Should they just say, I qualify for the Cal Grant and that's it, I'm done? How would you recommend they think about that?
So of course, with a given cost of schools, Cal Grant is just one portion of the overall cost of attendance. Students may still qualify for the federal Pell Grant, they can still qualify for Cal Grant, and they can still qualify for merit scholarships and outside scholarships, and of course the student loans. So it's just one kind of piece of the puzzle of their financial award package.
Great, so keep an eye out there. Always look for additional funding sources. I think that's what my colleagues over in college finance are always telling me. You don't ever say no to more opportunities to get funding for college. So
For sure.
Marina, thanks so much for coming on the show today. You did great for your first time. I caused a problem in terms of the audio, but you were fantastic. So we'll be very happy to have you back again sometime in the future.
Thank you so much.
That does it for today's show, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. Next week, we've got Sally back in the hosting chair. We're going to be talking about the first generation college experience, which is going to be really great. I think in some ways it connects to what we just talked about with the Cal Grant. We'll also be talking about the Wiley Foundation, and we're going to ask an important question. Why did my school give me money back? So we're looking into some of those financial aid refunds. That sounds fantastic as well. Until next week, good luck with the start of classes this fall. And we are wishing you all the best for this fall and the application season.